Your name and your age.
Carol, and I'm 33.
My name's Tam. I'm 39.
My name is Ann and I'm 39.
My name is Jay Webb and I am 27 years old.
My name is James Ernie Nelson, but I am commonly known throughout the world as the fabulous Erneller DeVille. And I am 44 years old.
Veronica, 30.
My name is Robert Solomon and I'm 32.
And what age were you when you realized your sexuality?
When I realized my sexuality, it varies because it was sort of fleeting throughout childhood, and then through high school and junior high school. There were thoughts, but nothing really concrete, because with those thoughts you're constantly trying to, or I was trying to just, hope that they would go away. It wasn't until junior or senior year of high school that I said, this isn't going anywhere, and this is the way I am, and I think I'm stuck this way. So I would say 18.
And how did it affect you?
It was difficult, but it's one of those things in life that I'm really proud that I did, that I was honest with myself and honest with the world around me, and it's one of those things that I'm glad I got through. I mean, I did it.
Probably had hints of it at a young age, but didn't really understand what I was going through. Probably when I hit puberty, I realized that I liked men more than I liked women, and most of my friends were girls, but I was attracted to men. But of course, I didn't do anything about it, tried to fight it, and didn't act upon my true feelings until I was 22.
And how did that affect you?
It was a little scary. It was very intimidating of what my family especially would think and how they would react. They handled it all very well. So it was a little bit scarier than it actually happened. I mean, I had a pretty good reaction from my family and all of my friends, so it was probably easier for me than most people.
Approximately 20, 21.
About the same, 22, something like that.
And how did the realization affect you?
For me, it confirmed a lot of things as far as probably my feelings, probably as far back as high school that I couldn't really put a finger on. So after it confirmed, then it's the realization of, okay, my thoughts then, this isn't cool, as my family, it's kind of a freak out mode. But I mean, I'm fine with it now. But it initially kind of freaked me out.
I would say I was pretty young. I don't know, I think by 16 I had it figured out. Probably even younger than that. Yeah, probably junior high, so once junior high. 13, 14, probably could figure out what side of the fence I was going to land on.
And at that age, how did that affect you?
Well, I had the whole Baptist background, so there was a whole religious issue thing going on there. So, the denial, and then the church telling you you're evil, and all this and that, and it's like, do I want to be gay? And I don't know, I just kind of, then finally in college I decided, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, and I'll be gay.
I started questioning it, I guess, about 17 or 18. Oh, 17 or 18.
And how did it affect you?
How did it affect me?
The realization.
Well, I was in Austin, and so it was kind of a really laid back environment to kind of think about that kind of stuff. But it was something that I kind of just thought about a lot and didn't really act upon until I was about 21. Because I was like convinced that maybe I was just misinterpreting my feelings and I was like crazy or something. So I just kind of put it on the back burner for a while.
Well, I didn't realize that, but in the second grade, my mother tells me that I came home and told her I had a new boyfriend, but I don't remember it. So I guess it was probably around 7.
And how did it affect you?
Well, I thought he was cute as hell, and I just wanted to go to a movie with him. It has never really affected me adversely.
So when you realized, did you have a support system at that time?
Not at the time I realized it. I was very quiet about it for about a year. I didn't tell anybody. And once I got more comfortable with it for myself and just understanding who I was, then it became a little bit easier. And of course I went to my mom to tell her first, and she made it very easy. And then the rest of it just kind of came into play.
Now, having that support system initially, as time went on, did that help with the process?
Oh yeah, I mean, just having my family, especially my dad, his reaction, having a very good reaction to it, put me a lot more at ease. And it seemed like as long as my family were okay and knew that I would be okay and it wasn't some horrible thing, that allowed me to just be who I was. And the fear kind of lifted from that aspect.
And do you currently have a support system?
Oh yeah, I have a great support system with my friends, family, even people at work know, and nobody acts like it's any kind of a big deal. So it makes it very easy. People are just treating me like they treat everybody else.
No, I didn't.
Not at all.
And how did that help or that hurt the process?
I think for me it hurt the process because you keep hiding the fact of who you are up until this day. Actually, everybody doesn't know the extent of it fully of who I am. So I think it eventually hurts the process because you don't know how to explain to people, or you don't allow yourself to be totally who you are with everybody.
That's true. You suppress these feelings and you try to move on, but then you keep falling right back to the way you really know you are. And you don't, I mean, everybody doesn't know this is true.
Not really. I was kind of, I don't know, been more of a, not really a loner, but I'm very independent, kind of. And so, I don't know, I had friends in college that, were gay, and so I'd hang out with them, and, sooner or later, by default, I was just, gay right along with them. Does that kind of make sense?
Well, at that being that initially that you didn't really have a support system so much, did that hinder? How did it hurt you, or did it help you in the progress?
I don't necessarily think it hindered me, but now if I think back on it, I would probably done lots of things different. Maybe I should have gone to those courage meetings they had in college that I never went to. That me and my friend Brad just kind of laughed them off. I was like, "We're gonna go to courage." No, I don't want to go to courage. So
I had a very good support system of. I came out to my mother, and I came out to my best friend. Well, it wasn't in that order. First, I came out to my best friend, and he in turn came out to me, and so we were each other's support network. And from there, we kind of branched out, and it was it just had like a little bit of a ripple effect. And finally, it culminated with me telling my mother. And for me, once you tell your mother and your mother accepts you, it's like, I don't care what anyone else thinks. My mother loves me, and that's all that mattered.
Now, having that support system, did that help, or?
Yeah, there was no way I could have, there's no way I would have been who I am today if I didn't have a good support system in everything, but, you know, also with being gay.
The more I thought about it, the more I thought I probably would, but it was kind of like hard to talk about it to my friends that I had known like in high school, so I guess I really didn't, but I knew that it would eventually. Like, I know that the people I chose to be my friends would be more likely to accept that kind of like realization or lifestyle choice or situation that you'd be in.
Well,
So.
not having one at the time, did that hurt you in your process?
Yeah, I think it kind of stressed me out a little bit. So, but I was partying a lot, so I was distracted. But yeah,
What about currently with the support system?
it's great. I mean, I don't really have very many like gay friends in Dallas, but all of my friends are totally supportive and have, you know, accepted me, and you know, my mom and my stepdad are fine with it. You know, we don't really like talk about it a whole lot, but since I was in a relationship with someone for 2.5 years, my mom met her and her family and was involved and was really, really cool about it. But, you know, being from Texas, my grandparents are totally in the dark and would probably have heart attacks and die, so we don't talk to them about it. Although there is that part of me as the rebellious child to just like, you know, turn their world upside down. But I don't want to make life harder for my mom. And she's an only child and I'm an only child, so she has a lot of pressure. And I'm sure my grandmother would give her hell. Tell her that she did something wrong or something.
Did I have a support system? Well, I decided to tell my mother that I was gay when I was 17, and she screamed and said, "We've got to go to therapy," and immediately looked through the book and found a female therapist by the name of Dr. Stockard. Okay, anyway, Dr. Stockard, I was so pleased when I walked into her office because she was the butchest lesbian I had ever seen in my life. And so then she told me I didn't have a problem, and I walked outside, and my mother walked in and had a coronary. And then on the way home, she said, "Well, at least you're not like your father." And I said, "You're right. I won't ever hit a woman."
So, what do you currently have a support system?
Do I currently have a support system? The world is my support system. I have the greatest friends and the most understanding family, and I try and make a difference in the way people perceive gay people because, you see, I am far from the regular queen.
Now, do you find it difficult to maintain or even start friendships with people that are not gay?
No, and in some aspects I'm actually more comfortable with people that are heterosexual, just because I guess growing up in Dallas during the 70s, 80s, I never was exposed to very many gay situations or people or anything, so for me it's kind of a comfort thing to be able to be friends with heterosexual people, gay people. It doesn't matter. It's just easy to be with people you care about.
I think it is difficult overall. It is difficult only because of where I am, in that I'm not so open with who I am. If I just don't discuss it. If they happen to ask, then I tell. But it's still very awkward for me. But I would say it's a little difficult in the fact that you're still reserving who you totally are.
Where do you get friends these days? From basically like work, you know, people when you go to work and you meet people, and no, I would say I'm having trouble. Sorry, friends. I mean, I think of when I worked at Half Price Books, and you know, all the people that I met there, and you know, they didn't care whether you're straight or gay. They just as long as you showed up and went drinking with them afterwards. That's all that really mattered. So.
No, in fact, most of my friends are straight, and I find it more difficult to make and maintain friendships with homosexuals because I'm different from most gay men. I don't look for somebody to sleep with. I look for somebody to be my friend and to take care of my heart.
Do you find it difficult to begin or maintain friendships with people that are straight?
No, I don't think so.
Do you feel that there's a difference being that that you're female as opposed to a gay man trying to maintain friendships with straight people?
I have never really thought about that. I don't think so. I think we all have difficulty, maintaining friendships in general, so I don't really think that it's different being female. I think that, as much as I know, at my office, I've not really blatantly come out and said anything like, yeah, I'm a queer person or bisexual, because I have a hard time labeling myself. But I do refer to things if people ask me point blank, well, what brought you back, or how did you end up in Vermont, I say things like, well, I moved there with my partner, and then seeing as I kind of gauge how they react, I'll say stuff like, or I'll add like, well, she lost her job, blah, blah, blah. But even then, knowing that I'm in the television industry, like sales and stuff, that it's pretty liberal. But even then, I know that some people just make assumptions, and so I just kind of gauge it. But, there are people that I've met that are more aggressive in, like, making sure that that they're comfortable with that and want to be your friend. And so I have a friend at work already that's, like, totally fine with it. And she's like, well, that this office is really gay-friendly. And I'm like, okay, but it's not something I feel like I need to run around, like, announcing to everybody. Like, oh, hi, by the way, did you know I'm gay? Or, and I'm not dating anyone, so it's not, like... But as far as, like, friendships and people I meet, I don't think that being a girl is any different than being a guy. Although I think that women are more comfortable with gay men than they are with lesbians. But that might be a stereotype that I've observed and maybe made up more. So I don't know.
There are a couple, every once in a while there's a heterosexual guy who, for whatever reasons, I can just tell that we're not going to jibe. But it's not so much that it's because he's straight or whatever. We're not the same type of people. And, but for the most part, it's not as much whether someone's straight or gay that I might have trouble being a friend with them. It's more if they're, judgmental or they're overly religious, to the point that it limits them. They're the ones that, are generally more limited. It's not me. I'm pretty much open to being friends with anyone. But, so you can sense that you're someone that they wouldn't like. And so you don't really push it. It's not something you really pursue.
So what do you feel is your biggest dilemma socially currently?
Just still the way that certain people will look down on you or not. There was recently we almost had decided to sell this house and purchase another house. And basically the people, even though we had turned in a higher offer, went with a lower offer. And when we asked why, their reaction was they were Baptist and they had religious beliefs. And to be turned down for a house because even though they're not saying it, what they're implying, kind of just slapped you in the face, because you go through life feeling like everything's okay, people are being more accepting, and then you turn around and you're told you can't do something because of who you are, without even really knowing, just making a quick judgment based off who you are.
And what do you feel is your biggest dilemma personally?
I was raised in a very religious family. My grandfather was a preacher of Church of Christ, and the debate over whether heterosexuality or homosexuality is a sin or not, I have a personal struggle within that because I have my religious beliefs, but then I also know who I am. But I think more of the religious beliefs that make me feel guilty were imposed on me as a young child instead of letting me just make my own judgments as I go and not enforcing something in me. And so you have that little struggle of, am I doing something I shouldn't be doing, or is it okay to be who I am?
I think my general irk is people's judgment, and they're making a generalization of everyone based on one person, or based on actually some information that they don't know. They think they know, but they really don't know. And instead of getting to know a person, they, categorize everybody and then make this whole generalization of how you are, how your lifestyle is, what you think, and instead of, recognizing everybody as individual.
I wonder if we have trouble getting jobs, or getting advancement in the workplace. I live in a gay neighborhood, in a gay environment, so where I live is not really an issue. And I've always lived somewhere, where being gay was accepted. I think that would be different if I lived maybe out in the boonies or in the suburbs. But so far as where I live, I'm comfortable. As far as where I work, I'm not needing to be real out, and I don't really think that that's a problem. I don't mind. And you have friends that will tease you and say they know you're gay or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, on paper they don't, and that's fine with me. I mean, and as far as socially and relationships wise, those aren't really big obstacles. I just would wonder, if sometimes people might pass you over in a job for a promotion or what have you because you are different.
I don't know. You can just sort of walk into a crowd and you can feel the crowd and just tell whether if they're young enough to be raised on MTV to know that gay is okay. Then it's kind of like you can sort of feel the crowd out, and as long as not a bunch of crazy rednecks from Mesquite or wherever. Even Mesquite's probably okay. It's just maybe out in the sticks where maybe there would be a little fear, but I don't. I mean, I work with my brother in the family roofing business down in Waxahachie, and Waxahachie's about as redneck as it gets. Sorry for that squeaky chair. But the other day I was at the gas station in Waxahachie, and who's on the other side of the gas pump? But some old gay guy with like rainbow stickers all over his car, and tons of earrings, and the 80s leather, not leather, but that sort of 80s cheesy combat boot look that they all had. That was before my time.
And the chaps.
Yeah, no, they weren't chaps, but I mean, it was the middle of the day in Waxahachie, but, he just had his shorts and his cut-off shirt and the combat boots with the socks pulled up. But, what's the question again?
My biggest dilemma socially is finding another gay man who is on the same page as I am as far as what they want in life.
And what about personally?
Personally, losing weight.
So,
and keeping my hair color.
What about yourself and your sexuality? Is something that is a dilemma for you?
Yeah, I guess like I said, I don't really like labels, so it's a constant like I'm attracted to people, and I feel like it is a dilemma at times where I'm like, I don't know how I'm feeling. Am I, interested in men on just a certain level, or is it a certain type of person? So that trying to find a label for myself, I think, is my dilemma.
I would think that sometimes gay culture tends to be focused around the same activities. It's hard it's growing and it's getting better, but most of gay life, for the most part, for us to meet each other is focused around being in a bar, and I'm sure that's true for, heterosexual life too, but I just think ours is more so focused around this same activity, and that gets kind of old.
Sometimes I think I'm not gay enough. It's like people expect me to be gayer, and I'm just like, what's gay? I mean, yeah, I did go to a Cher concert. I did finally mark that off my list of things to do, and felt kind of gypped too, because on the TV special she did 2 songs, and when I saw her in Fort Worth, she cut 2 of the songs out of the set list, and I was kind of miffed about that. But anyway, back to the question: what are my dilemmas with society? I don't know. You hear all these people on TV and they hate gay people, and you're just like, oh, whatever. They'll be dead soon, or karma's gonna bite them in the ass, and they're gonna have like the gayest kids in the universe.
Like Cher.
Yeah.
So, what are your feelings as far as civil rights or civil unions? If you feel there's a difference between civil unions and gay marriage, or anything of that nature?
Well, my whole spin on gay marriage is to me, it boils down to more of a interference between legal issues and religious issues. Marriage is both a religious ceremony, but it's also legally binding. And you're supposed to keep your, government and church separate, but that's one aspect where they do come together. And the government is saying that it's illegal to have a gay marriage, and they do not recognize it, but at the same time, that I feel like that's based off of religious views. And so to me, it's kind of like intertwine that, and they're not recognizing the fact that what does it really hurt? What does it matter who marries who? We're all Americans. We should all have the same rights. People are imposing their beliefs and affecting my life. And I have an issue with that, but at the same time, I've been in a 10-year relationship. I care about the person. I love them very much. And I don't need a piece of paper. I don't need somebody to tell me it's okay, because it's okay with us. And that's what matters. That's where our heart is. So,
being deeply religious in the church, there is always a struggle with, obviously my faith and my sexuality. There's a lot of peace that I've come to terms with. But there's still, in that I'm in an established traditional church that obviously does not accept my lifestyle. So from that upbringing and that being deeply rooted in me as well, I tend to not like the term gay marriage, because, just from what I've been taught as far as what marriage is and the whole holy covenant of it and all that.
If you're lucky enough to find someone who loves you, then you should act upon it, whether you're gay or straight or whatever, because there's nothing better than true love. I know I'm luckier than most people. I've had 3 long-term relationships, and there's not a moment that I would trade for any of it. I think that at times it's better now. I came out in the 70s, and in the 70s it was very difficult to be gay and to have any kind of respect. And I think that now I'm a little bit disenchanted with gay people, because we worked so hard back in those days to get a little bit of respect, and now at gay pride parades and things, it seems to me that homosexuals do everything they can to give the right wing whatever they need to use against us. I don't particularly go to those functions because I myself am insulted by some of the behavior. But I think that as far as gay unions, I think that if you find somebody who loves you, there's nothing wrong with that. I do think, however, that if you're in a committed relationship, that you should be able to carry your partner on your insurance. I think that you should have all of the benefits that straight partnerships have.
However, on the other hand, sometimes I feel like I'm civil, but on the other hand, I believe in it as far as it's being a civil ceremony, what 2 people decide to do and want to, how they want to project to the world, who they love and how they want to present themselves. I'm totally supportive of that as well. It's basically whatever. I think they should have the right to do it. I think it should be a recognized legally for the aspects of whether you want to have domestic partnership in your, with your benefits at your job, or you got long-term couples that well into their elderly and they die and they can't lay claim to the things that they built together. I think that should be changed to where they can do that.
It's like, I think that it's a good thing. If, somebody's going to be committed to each other for what they think is going to be the rest of their lives, then they're going to contribute to society, paying taxes and all the other things that everybody else has to do. If they're going to be dying and they need somebody, their loved one. I mean, who is to deny a dying person, those kinds of wishes? Like, it's so fucked up. Sorry, you'll have to edit me out, but.
But you know what? If we have that right or not, there are still gay couples. They still go into churches. They still stand before a minister, and they still profess their love for each other. Regardless of what any lawmaker or anybody can do, it's still being done. So it's a bunch of wasted breath that, people are going through all this jumping jacks to get this outlawed, these marriages, because people are still going to find a way to get married. If you can't keep people apart, and if they want to, they'll go to Canada and do it, or they'll go to Amsterdam and do it, somewhere more progressive and modern, and they'll get married, and then they'll come back. They'll go to Hawaii, and it'll be some big production. But that's for people who need that kind of production, and they need that sort of recognition to legitimize their relationship.
People say that would be, that gay marriage would be a mockery to the institution of marriage when, heterosexual marriage isn't exactly perfect. And that's, I don't know, when people like Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley get married and you wonder about the sanctity of marriage, you just kind of realize what's a joke. And
what's going on with all these reality shows, where people are meeting people they've never seen or heard before in their lives and getting married? If anything is an insult to marriage or makes it seem small and insignificant, I would think that is. And that's between a bunch of straight people.
And it's ironic to me how many gay people are involved in the whole wedding process. From the people who are helping with the dresses, to the people who are sewing everything, to the people who are doing the flowers, to the people who are doing the cakes. They don't want to include us. Society doesn't want to include us in these weddings and allow us the same joys, but yet they ask us to do everything for it. We're almost like the hired help at their party, but they're not going to let us have a party.
I'm sure there's lots of gay couples that are just committed as straight couples, and if they are equally committed, they should just be given equal rights. Yeah, definitely. Common sense, isn't it? So.
I think it'll happen. So many things are happening around the world, and where sometimes America's a little slow on that kind of stuff. I don't know why. We're supposedly, we're the melting pot. I'm like, well, if people aren't killing each other, and there's so many misconceptions, I think, about what people think is going on in the queer, group. So.
And I think that, eventually we will look back and say, wow, there was a time when we used to be, so weird that we wouldn't let people, do what made them happy. We prevented them from being happy.
So what would you like straight people to know about the gay community?
I think a lot of times it's portrayed as being a wild party, sexually open, everybody having sex with everybody type of world, and that's not quite true. There's that same aspect in any other culture. Heterosexuals, you have the wild scene, everything else. We're just like everybody else. We want the same things. We have goals. We want love. We want relationships. We want friends. We don't want to be held back just because of who we are.
in my opinion, there's not, you can't even really say there's a gay agenda. And it's like, okay, I don't agree with everybody who's gay, and I don't agree with some of the politics or whatever they're trying to, assert. So just as, there's agreements and disagreements among heterosexual, among everybody else, there is no cookie cutter gay community, just like I don't think there's a cookie cutter straight community. It's just we're all individuals and we have different beliefs and belief systems, and we all have different goals and likes and dislikes, and we're not all in the clubs, we're not all in the we're not all hanging out living some wild debaucherous life or anything like that. Some of us are very reserved, and we just go to work, we come home. Some of us like kids, some of us don't. There's just no cookie cutter, and that just what I want the world to know, or the straight community to know, that we're just individuals. We're just like everybody else. And we had the same goals, and wants for our lives, and just respect us as individuals and not as some group that is all of the same mind, because we're not.
Instead of focusing on what's different, focus on what's the same, and you'll notice that we're just like everybody else. It's just the same way when you look at someone's race. If you focus on what you have in common, you realize that there's a lot more that you have in common than you think. And and one of the things that helps me is to not do too much of one thing. I mean, I don't try to just hang out with gay friends. I don't try to hang out with just straight friends. I think it's good in life to have diversity and to be around all different types of people. So, get some gay friends, get some straight friends, and, that, it really will make things a lot more interesting to have that sort of variety in your life.
They have goals, they have dreams, they have needs. They need love, they need friendship, they need everything that anybody else needs, and, can give so much to the rest of the world, which they've been around forever, so they've been your leaders, they've been your teachers, they've been your doctors, and they will continue to be. And they're just like you and me.
We're just like everybody else.
We're just like everybody else.
We're just like everybody else.
We're just like you, except we like to sleep with different people in bed, or we like to sleep with each other in bed instead of different people. But then, there's the wacky bisexuals, and, they're just, so, whatever.
I would like straight people to know about the gay community is to have a heart for gay people. In my opinion, the acting out is a cry for help. So many gay people are not understood, and they're not understood primarily because they are not given the chance to be understood. They act out in bad ways and do things that hurt not only themselves but the community as a whole. And the reason that they do that is because they just want somebody to love them. But unfortunately, gay people growing up as children are often treated poorly by their families and by schools and by adults in churches and social organizations that don't try and love them for who they are, and they make very bad choices in how they treat gay people, and gay people grow up to be, in my opinion, too many of us are drug addicts and alcoholics, of which I am recovering and recover every day. I've done every bad thing that there is to do to myself, and there isn't anybody that can hurt me worse than me. And that's what I would like everybody to understand about gay people, and just accept them for who they are.
Ernie? Yeah, thank you very much. You're welcome.
I wanna be where the boys are, but I'm not allowed. I'm outside of the boys' bar. I'm with them to all come out. I'm not a boy. I'm not a boy. boy.